This video is essentially about a custom handguard company that also makes rifles and uppers, and I don't really know what to title it yet. So I'm gonna let you guys decide in the comment section. Whatever has the most likes, that's probably what I'll change it to later on. Here we have the Unique AR's Hex Upper Receiver. Full disclosure on this upper is that Unique reached out to me in support after Lead and Steel attempted to self-immolate in public, and they wanted to send me something to review. So this is one of those manufacturer holdovers, as I don't accept product anymore, but I am grateful for their support when others were slinking away. Anyways, I've had this upper for over a year and have been using it intermittently. It has also gone through some changes as well, which we'll discuss in a minute. Now, if you aren't familiar with Unique, they make all these custom handguards with wacky designs that can be customized to the end user's heart's desire. Just check their catalog for all the cringe their customers have requested. It's not my vibe, it's not my thing, you get it. The upper that I have, their Hex upper, is the most normal one and also pretty functional for a race gun handguard, if that's even a thing. Starting out up front, we have their Rook muzzle brake, which is incredibly effective at keeping the muzzle steady. It is also somehow not as concussive as other brakes, though I still wouldn't recommend standing around it. Moving back to the barrel, this is actually not the original barrel. The first upper they sent me that I reviewed on the Gun.Deals channel, which again was almost a year ago at this point, had a cheaper 16-inch mid-length black nitride government profile barrel. The barrel that you see now is what their most up-to-date models ship with as far as I am aware of. It is a 16-inch mid-length Odinworks super light profile barrel with one of their adjustable gas block combos. The Odinworks barrels are like $300-ish with their adjustable gas block, which is pretty expensive, and for the performance, it's pretty underwhelming. Also of note, on the website you will see a much heavier profile barrel on their pictures. Maybe that one would do better, but that's not the one that I have here. The barrel is a 1-8 twist 416R stainless steel barrel with a 223 wide chambering. All of that should help in the accuracy department, but that's all undercut by the super lightweight profile. The gas block is adjustable, but it's not a detent click style system. It has a set screw and a tension screw. You set the set screw where you would like it for your system, and then you install the tension screw behind it to hold that in place. It hasn't moved in my testing, but it's also just not ideal in my opinion. Moving on to the main selling point of these uppers is the handguard. Here again is the 15-inch Hex model. Now up top we have a full pick rail, which is what I wanted. On the bottom we have full M-lock. And everywhere else is this hexagonal patterned aluminum, which of course you can't mount anything to, but there are actually a few pros. First off, it feels great. Really good texture to grip onto. You can really dig into the hexes without any sort of AFG. It also doesn't trap heat at all since there's so much air gap everywhere. And of note, this is not a slim handguard. It has an ID of around 1.5 inches, so that also helps to create a lot of offset between your handguard and your barrel. Now, talking about the lockup in the back, we have a steel finned barrel nut that is annoying to install and time, but the fins are cool and they work well for heat dissipation. The handguard is held in place by 2 bolts that clamp the handguard onto the barrel nut, and then 4 more set screws to torque down in between the fins to prevent the handguard from rotating. That's actually better than most duty handguards on the market. Oof, guys. But there isn't anything preventing the handguard from walking forward, so that's really the only thing it's missing in the lockup department. Weight for the entire rail, barrel nut, and hardware comes in at 10.8 ounces, very nice. For a non-serious application and a somewhat silly looking rail, it's actually not too bad. I think they sell these for around $300 on their website for the 15-inch model, which is kinda nuts unless you're buying it exclusively for the looks. Moving on to the upper receiver, these are the old Mega billet uppers with all those aggressive cuts and way more material than you would ever need, which kind of undercuts the weight savings in the barrel and handguard. It looks fine, but all of the extra material gets in the way of my next level ambi lowers, and it impedes the use of the PDQ lever, so it's not my favorite. Now, two huge misses for a race upper, or just a nice upper in general, is the BCG and charging handle. It ships with just a mil-spec charging handle and a no-name nitride BCG. Two very cheap and underwhelming components that feel out of place on a $1,300 upper. Oh yeah, the upper is $1,300 bucks. Now, mine currently has the hugely oversized K Tactical charging handle, and that works way better when you're trying to clear a malfunction. Now, as of right now, I have used this upper a lot, 50-50 before and after the barrel swap, and the only malfunctions that I've run into is when I tune the gas too low and don't lube the gun. Every now and again, it won't fully lock back, but that is again a self-induced issue. Again, it's not that the included charging handle and BCG are bad on their own necessarily, they just feel really out of place on a $1,300 upper, especially one that's prioritizing looks over everything else. Now, talking about accuracy with the barrel that they shipped, the second barrel, which actually had worse accuracy results than the first barrel, just probably due to the extra material on the original barrel, but my results with the Odin Works Superlight were underwhelming. So what we end up with is a hodgepodge of eclectic parts that don't really vibe well together. So let's talk about what I would change if I were sticking with the aesthetics. So I would probably drop the Mega uppers and swap to something like an Aero M4E1 that still has the looks and some more cuts and lightning cuts, but it is much smaller, lighter, and cheaper. And then I would take those savings and put the ounces into another barrel. For the price of the Odin, we can get a Criterion or a Roscoe and a better adjustable gas block and end up with around the same weight, or even possibly a lower cost as well, and get a more accurate system. In the back, we definitely need a nicer charging handle. The break arms are pretty nice and inexpensive, and for the BCG, maybe some bling with either a Microbest or Toolcraft Chrome BCG. Again, the parts that are included aren't necessarily bad on their own, but they kind of mess with the whole vibe of the expensive upper receiver. Now, I don't think there is much, if any, overlap with my audience and this style of upper, and I really only think that people are buying these because they look cool. I think that is the entire draw. For me, they aren't cheap enough to be a novelty, and they don't perform well enough to be worth the price tag. And if you're into some of the more wacky designs, well,
one day you will have to answer for your actions, and God may not be so merciful.